Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition. And today we are going to talk about getting ourselves in the place of not being in our human consciousness and how we are programming our reality from our consciousness. And sometimes when we don't see that and don't see that it's our responsibility, that we kind of can just get trapped in whatever consciousness we're in that moment and wherever we wake up at. Wherever we wake up at, or we wake up, we feel pretty good. We feel like we are in our highest space. Sometimes in the morning, if you lay in bed for a while, get yourself to that place, right? Get yourself to your highest place. Look at yourself and say, okay, is this my highest consciousness I can be at in this moment? Is this the highest one I can get to? Who's talking here? Is this my highest aspect or my human aspect? Who's showing up? Who's getting out of bed? Let's really dive into it. Let's really think about it. Let's not be blind-eyed to that and think, okay, well, I didn't wake up like that, but maybe it'll shift later by some miracle, right? Because our consciousness programs our reality, and if we look for someone else to do it, or if we are thinking, however we wake up for the day, that's just how it is, and we kind of become a victim to the consciousness we wake up in. Or let's say we wake up and we feel great, and we feel like we're in that space, we're in that peace, we're in that divinity, and then we start going through our day and we get triggered, and all of a sudden we're not anymore. And now from what started out as feeling great, now you start to feel it. If you start out feeling your body's feeling good, then your body's not feeling good. Then we get into some victim energy about that. All that stuff really starts to affect our vibration. So we want to really look at, what are we doing to get ourselves there? What is it? Is it a funny picture? I know I would take a funny picture of my nephew and put it on my phone. And when I kind of felt like I was slipping, you just look at the picture. I had it on my bank card too for a while. So when I spent money, it was a way for me to break programming over money. When I spent money, I would see that picture and it would make me laugh. It would make me happy. And I was like, well, if I can be happy and laugh by looking at this picture, then it can't be all bad. It just shifts your consciousness. It shifts you out of it. Because our consciousness is what programs our reality. And we get in this mindset that whatever consciousness we're in is kind of fixed or locked, right? And we're not shifting throughout the day. We're always going to be shifting throughout the day. That's why we always have to check in. That's why it's so important to remember to check in with yourself to see what consciousness is am I speaking from right now? What aspect is showing up here? What aspect am I right now? Am I showing up in my purest state that I can achieve in this moment? Or am I showing up as my human? And if I am, what triggered me back there? What's my trigger? What's going on? What is impacting that? Because we are going to shift throughout dimensions during the day and shift throughout your frequencies during the day. You might start off feeling like you're, very planted in the fifth dimension, and then by the end of the day, you feel like you've been plunked back into the human dimensions. And there's a lot of reasons this happens. We have tests all throughout the day to see, okay, what's going to trigger you? Okay, what carrot can we dangle to try to drag you back into human realities? What's going to get you to look at something and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I want to go back and do that, or oh, now I'm pissed about that, or how come this is happening this way? Why is that always the way? Why is that always the way this thing works out for me? Or we get into this victim mentality and we can't seem to break through that. We are projecting our reality through our consciousness. And if we cannot shift ourselves, then we have no free will of what plays out in front of us. Our human does not have any free will, okay? It's only got a free will of unconsciousness, and that's it. And it can act within that unconsciousness parameters, within those human beliefs and dimensions as far as free will goes. It's almost like so pinball machines when the ball just kind of can bounce around and then it's kind of, till it goes out. It's the same thing with us and our human consciousness and the amount of free will we have. We have amount of free will to act in this very small space, in a sense. In a way, everything's predetermined, so we can only go so many different directions. But everything's kind of going to play out right there. And that's just how it is. That's just what it is in a sense. We don't have any free will. Not for anything beyond that to stay unconscious. If we start going out of our lane, we do not have any free will to do that. We only have that free will. A human technically doesn't have free will, but in a sense, if you stay in your lane, you're going to have free will to move along the unconsciousness spectrum. Free will only comes when you become conscious. Everything else is laid out. It's pretty much, it's predetermined. It's laid out. So you can go A to B to C or D to E to F, but you're always going to end up back at G. So it gives you the illusion of free will, but it's actually just all a game in a sense. So it's very important that we get ourselves to our highest place. And if you do that first thing in the morning, sometimes I'll do that first thing in the morning. Sometimes I wake up and I'm there. And then I have a couple things I'll do every morning just to kind of to be with myself and be by myself and do little things around the house and just to kind of get myself kind of what I like to call kind of in body a little bit, because at night when we're dreaming, when we're working in our dream state, which we all do, the more conscious we become, we can be really tired when we wake up. Or we can feel like we're not even tethered back in our body yet. We can feel like we're kind of all over the place. And we don't really feel like we are, we're really there. We kind of feel like we're still in the ethers in a sense. So we don't really feel anchored in. We haven't anchored in that consciousness we've achieved in our sleep state. And anchoring in that consciousness can take many, many years. It's not an overnight thing. So your highest aspect you can hold 1 year. I'm going to go years here because it can take that long to actually be able to hold that aspect and hold it to where your body achieves that consciousness. Then you get another one to hold, and then you keep going up the ladder. So when you're trying to hold that consciousness and you realize, okay, throughout the day I'm slipping here. I'm not in my highest space. So my reality starts to feel like it's going a little sideways because I'm programming my reality. No one else programs it for me. I'm the one that's here. I'm the one programming it. I'm the one that's dictating what's happening here. I'm the one in charge. And if things start to go awry, I have to shift my mentality back. If you're in big victim energy that day because of either something happening in that moment or something that happened 15 years ago. Our human consciousness is always going to care about shit that happened 15, 30, 40 years ago. We can clear victim energy right now and separate out what the attachment is to and what the story was behind the victim energy. The most important thing is clearing the victim energy from our body. The story doesn't matter. The story is just something we created to get the victim energy out. It doesn't matter who it was about. It doesn't matter what the situation was. All that's just kind of dressing, and none of that even matters anymore. But clearing victim energy, and when you're feeling that, and usually when I feel myself dropping in frequency, it's because I feel victim energy. That's the one big thing for me, that no matter what, something's going on, it's not going the way I wanted it to, and I go right into a story and right into the victim energy to clear more victim energy. We have to shift past that. We have to be able to shift ourselves. And if we can't shift it by going deeper inside, find something external to shift you. You can't use something external forever because it's always going to point you to go deeper in. But if there's something for a while that you need to shift you, whether it's a funny picture or a funny saying or just a song that can shift you out of it and shift you out of that your human DNA talking to you and giving you all this story, because that's our body talking to us. All our thoughts are just our body talking. It's not some profound thing. We're in those stories and in that victim energy and in the grief and the pain and clearing all that stuff and all the stories around that stuff. That's just our DNA talking to us. And that's why we keep programming our reality the same way, because that's what we're projecting out. It doesn't come from the mind. It's our whole body giving that stuff off. And that's why we attract all this stuff. That's why the manifestations and the affirmations don't really work, because your whole body is sending out one frequency and your voice can be saying something, but the tone and the frequency of the words you're saying do not match what you're saying. That's why people will say they've done affirmations for years and not much has really changed. You might get your universe to throw you a bone here just to show you there is a connection to what you think to what, I don't really want to use the word think there, how you feel as to what you can create. So your universe will throw you some bones in the beginning. So it always seems like in the beginning it's a little easier than later on when it gets a little bit harder. And I always get jealous of people when they would do something right away, they'd get this automatic response. I'm like, how does that happen? I've been doing that same shit for 2 years and it hasn't happened. But you understand, depending on where people are, sometimes they'll do one thing and they'll like, oh, I thought of this and I attracted it in. Their universe is throwing them a bone. Their universe is showing them, hey, look, there is a connection here between how you feel and the reality you get. And we talk a lot on this channel about how we feel and the reality we get. And we talk a lot about clearing and shifting. And it's so incredibly important to drop the facade and be honest with ourselves and say, yeah, you know what? I'm not in my highest place today. And I don't know if I can get myself there. Maybe today I just want to set in that shit. And I'm going to set in it. And then I'm going to give myself 4 or 5 hours to set in it. Then I'm going to shift it and I'm going to move on. I'm going to resolve the parts of it I can resolve of it. I'm going to shift the story. And if I just shift the story a little bit, and tomorrow I'll shift the story a little bit more till I dissolve the whole story. It comes in stages, especially the big ones. They come in stages. We just don't sit there and all of a sudden, oh, the whole story's resolved and everything's peachy. It can take a long time. Not because it takes a long time, because our human beliefs and our human DNA and our human consciousness prolongs it over time. Once you get to certain levels of consciousness, you can clear things almost immediately. You can clear things in the blink of an eye. You can have a lot of stuff coming up and you kind of can feel it coming up, but then you feel like it's gone almost immediately. Because the human stuff's not getting in your way. Your body's DNA is not getting in the way. It's been recoded. We talk about our templates being wiped and our body being rewritten and our higher conscious DNA coming online. That's because we're clearing through our old human DNA. And that's why we go through so much body stuff, because our body's getting redone, our body's getting rewritten. All this stuff is trapped in the body. What is your body saying? I know I always feel a lot of victim energy when I'm going through the body stuff, because I like moving around a lot. And when I feel like I'm not able to do that, I start clearing a lot of victim energy. So I start doing a lot more body work as far as massage and stuff. And then it just releases more of it because it's all trapped in my muscular system. So when I'm going through that, I don't feel like I'm in my highest place. Sometimes shifting and just going to help someone else who might need it, who might need to listen to this video, or might need, me to go volunteer and do something, or let me take something to the homeless shelter, or let me take something to the, Humane Society. Let me do something I can do, and take the focus off yourself. Because we can get so focused on ourselves and our journey and how shitty it can be sometimes, and how it's not turning out the way we thought it was going to. Because it can take a long time for us to understand how we thought it was going to turn out is how our human thought it was going to turn out. And that's not a soul on reality. That's what we were programmed to believe our human wanted. And we were programmed to believe that fed our soul, but it never did. Because if it did, we wouldn't want to leave it. But it's all the propaganda of the human unconsciousness, which we all signed up for. But a lot of times we can get victim energy in that too, especially when we start breaking out of it and we feel like, boy, I worked for this so long and it's all just up in smoke. Human realities can take a long time to build, and then they dissolve so fast. They're built on nothing. Like a mushroom that it almost like it develops overnight and then it just collapses. And that's 100% how it feels. It feels like we never really get footing. And we think stuff that's going to be around forever, it's just not anymore. It's just not what you thought it was going to be. It reminds me of the song. I heard it. Actually, every time I'm in this mindset, I hear the song from The Lion King. And when Simba sings, I can't wait to be king, right? I'm going to be able to do what I want to do. I'm going to be able to tell everybody what to do. Everyone's going to be kissing my feet. I'm going to be doing everything. Everything's going to be glorious. And, it's just going to be the best thing in the world. And when he gets there, he realizes this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is a lot of work, and it's not about me anymore. It's not about what I want. It's not about everyone kissing my toes. It's not about being ascended or achieving some amazing consciousness and being, it is about that in a sense for ourselves and what we can do with that for the collectives. And Simba quickly learns that, I have to worry about what's Worry might not be the word I want to use there, but now I'm responsible for other people. I'm responsible for my group, just like we become responsible for the collectives, and we become responsible not so much for the collectives, but raising our consciousness to create new collectives and bringing people through who want to come and putting out information to assist people who are going through this journey too. It's not about us anymore. And it's not what we thought it was going to be. And it's not all glory, None of it is, because those were all kind of the human things. So every time I hear that song, it just kind of puts me back in that mindset is, yeah, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Because I thought it was going to be all about me. And some kind of, I don't know, glorified human world of what I thought my human wanted. And when we're going through days, we're clearing, and we're going through days, and we clear because it's not like that. That's what triggers us to clear, because we go through these days and we're like, well, that's not like that. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And that's what kind of can dovetail us back into a different dimension with our consciousness. And we can feel like we're going back, because you're always going to be dipping in and out throughout the day. You're not going to be able to maintain the same thing. If you're out in public, you're not going to maintain the same state of consciousness as when you're by yourself. Too many things are going on in your field. Too many people are spinning at a different rate. You're trying to hold up the whole field of when you're out, and you just don't feel like you have that connection anymore as when you do when you're by yourself. There's a lot of things that touch on our consciousness, and there's a lot of things that can move our consciousness one way or the other, and we're always going to be shifting in and out of dimensions. When we're in the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension is kind of all about us. It's about us getting our vibration up. It's about what we're doing for ourselves. And then when we get into, 7th, 8th, 9th dimension, it's more about now we want to move to work with the collectives and assisting other people and completely leaving the other stuff behind. So we have to be honest with ourselves and where we are. We can't have this sugar-coated mentality that every day I wake up in my highest aspect and I live like that all day. Very few people I know have achieved that. Now, we'll all get there. But if that's not where we're at right now, that's okay. When we're clearing, when we're in that space, how can we shift ourselves? Shifting ourselves is going to shift the reality around you. I promise you that. It will. You'll feel it shift. You'll start to see it change. And if you don't know how to shift it, ask your universe, okay, what can I do right now? If your body's going through a lot, say, okay, is there something I can do for my body right now that's going to assist in this? Is there something is it a supplement that my body needs to get me to the next stage here? If you're in a space of whatever reality you kind of feel like you're shouldering too much of it, or it's starting to affect your vibration, those are huge things to look at, to say, okay, is this aligned anymore? If I step away from it, can it align by itself? Is it organically aligning? Okay, it's not organically aligning. Do I go back and try to align this myself now? Because when I let step back, it's not aligning on its own. So can I align it? Is it just not going to align? And it's time to close the reality out and move on to a different one. I did a video before where we talked about, leaving a reality behind. He's actually physically leaving the reality. It's not saying I'm going to leave it behind and then we're still setting in it. We have to actually get up and move out of it. We have to actually pick ourselves up and go somewhere else. A lot of times we kind of get trapped in, we feel like we can make this mental, I'm going to use mentally, I usually don't use that word, this mental choice of leaving, right? But we're still going to set in the same reality. We're mentally, we're gone. And our human would do that a lot, It's going to check out. I'm going to mentally check out, but I'm still going to sit here. That stuff you start to feel, it always affected your frequency. But you start to feel it because now that you've achieved higher frequencies, you feel when you drop. And you feel when you start to plummet down. Just like when we reach really high levels of consciousness and we can start to merge with a higher aspect. We have a lot of them, so you're going to merge with a lot of different ones. And then you feel you should kind of come plug back down again, because now we got to clear everything that's not that aspect. So everything that was not okay is now right in our face. And that affects our vibration, especially if we go through it for a long period of time. It's important to know, can I shift? I need to be able to learn we all need to learn to be able to shift ourselves out of it. Let me shift myself. I can set in it for a little while, then I'm going to shift. Or you know what, today I'm not going to set in it. I'm just going to shift this energy out. I'm going to change my victim story to, all right, I'm clearing today. That means some awesome shit's going to come when all this stuff is out of my body. Look how you can shift the picture. It's almost like the old, I want to say light bright, but that's really not what I'm seeing. I'm not even seeing a light bright, but it's almost those little puzzle pieces where you could kind of shift and move things around. How can I shift it? How can I get myself in a higher aspect? And how long can I hold it? And if I can't really hold it today, maybe I'm not going to go out and be around a lot of people today. It's not the day for that, because I'm not my highest. And if I can't be my highest, I have a responsibility for that. I mean, I'll just be by myself today and get this stuff cleared out, and then really look at what's going on. What's triggering this? And then we have to look. Is it just I'm triggering it because I'm clearing? I'm triggering it because I'm staying in a reality. I'm trying to hold a reality together. That's not aligning. I backed off from the reality. It's still not aligning organically. What do I do here? And we have to just be honest with ourselves about what's going on with ourselves and what we can shift on our own, and why we're not. Sometimes you'll be surprised how many people, we were the same way, want to set in the story of how bad everything is. And they don't want to shift because they give up the story, they give up the identity of the story. Everyone wants to be a victim in their story. Every story has a victim, it has a hero, and it has a villain, right? That's every story. Every human story has a victim and it has a hero. That's it. So we try to assign the same roles, right? That's how we justify the story. It has to have some kind of structure to it. If we don't have a structure, then what kind of story is it? You know, who's the good guy here? You didn't even watch a movie. We already assign, okay, wait, who's the hero in the story? Who's the villain? And now we get to more stories where we start to see the anti-villain, right? You know, well, they were the villain, now they're not anymore. Ascension sometimes can feel like we're just getting beaten with it. And then we realize, it's more of the anti-hero sometimes. So when you're assigning such very distinct roles to a story, you're in the human consciousness of that story. You're letting your human beliefs dictate the story. Watch any human news station and you'll start to see the pattern of it all, the cadence of it all, how victim, someone in their human consciousness explaining something. There's always a victim, there's always a hero, there's always a good, there's always a bad. You know, there's no gray. And there's a lot of gray. And there is none. Everything's agreed to ahead of time. It's all soul contracts. Everything was supposed to happen that way. There's no victim. Everything is consensual. So, all right. I think I'm going to leave it at that. So, when you're not there, get yourself there. And maybe I'll do a live. I'm going to do a lot of live streams over the next week or so, especially because we're getting to the summer solstice where we're going to start to see a lot more of what needs to clear. That's why our bodies have been clearing a lot lately, because now we're getting to, more stuff that needs to clear. And then we're going to start getting the templates for 2025 soon. So, okay. So we got a lot ahead of us. So keep practicing the art of intuition.